Hey, good morning, everybody. Brannon Beliso here. It is 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time here on the West Coast. Another installment of Success Never Sleeps, presented by who? My Studio, the app, Market Muscles, Kids Love Life Skills, and LC Accounting. We have a really special guest coming on. Look, I even got rid of the beanie and the disruptor shirt. I took a shower and fixed my hair all nice because Melody Johnson's going to be on with us, and I love her. I love her to bits. Before we get started, people have been asking me a lot, how's the new year? What's going on in the new year? The new year, the new year, the new year. And the God honest truth, I had posted this, that when I go to bed every night at midnight, I silently whisper to myself, Happy New Year. Because I think every day is a new day. And if we approach it that way, then we offer ourselves a better opportunity to have a better mindset to cultivate and perpetuate our version of success. Cool. That's why I think the gyms are packed right now in the month of January. And by the time February rolls around, what happens? Everybody's gone. Everybody's gone, right? And that's because I think that whole year, you look at this new year, 2020, new decade, new year. Even worse, you're looking at the whole decade. Sometimes life is one breath at a time. It's 1 second at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time. And one bad day doesn't have to turn into a bad week, into a bad month, into a bad year. If I can have that reboot mindset, that, hey, everything looks better in the morning, right? And you always got tomorrow. And sometimes you're going to have those days. Because for me to blindly believe that being an entrepreneur, being a small school owner, being a business owner, doing what I do, that every day is going to be roses and flowers, it's not. It's not. And to be able to have the positive mindset to see myself through those challenges, through the difficulties, not only will I get a better learning experience, because no matter how hard it is, I really believe I'm supposed to get something out of this. And if I can have that positive mindset and live from humility and gratitude, then I'm more likely to see that message more clearly and be able to move on swiftly, very swiftly. And I'm big on that. I don't like dwelling. I think dwelling only allows me to climb on a pity pot. It allows me to dig this really deep hole. And then I'm looking up out of this hole going, well, how did I get here? I can't get out of this. So for me, I'm very quick to take the lesson learned. I don't want to say cut my losses because that's negative. I'd like to say the lesson that I need and then let it go with love. How about that? And then move on quickly. That I think is very, very important when we talk about being successful, because your ability to pivot, to make decisions quickly, to move on is very important. The longer you sit and dwell, the more negative energy it takes up, and then it consumes your time and derails you from, where you're trying to go. So I want you to really think about that in 2020. Let every day be New Year's Day. Let every moment be a new moment. And if you can do that, I believe you can cultivate that mindset to create your version of success, not mine, not anybody else's. And that's huge, right? We're always looking at the Joneses. Hey, that guy's got a bigger house, so I need a bigger house. That guy's got a nicer car, so I need a nicer car. And don't get me wrong. I just completely remodeled my home. I love that, but I'm doing it for my family and me. It's not because the guy across the street has a bigger house or a nicer car. It's something we've wanted to do for 12 years. And now that we have the money to do it, we now have the home that we truly, truly want. So huge difference there. I wouldn't open another location because somebody else did. That's not a yardstick of success. You have to really define that for you, what that means for you. So I'm hoping in 2020, today and tomorrow and the weeks to come, that you spend that time, really thinking about for you, what does that mean? What does that mean? And how to make that happen. Cool. So I kind of wanted to open with that while everyone's coming aboard. As you come aboard, do say hello. Share this with as many people as you can, because we're giving away something. What are we giving away, K1? What are we giving away today? Go ahead and post it in there. So share this with as many people as you can. And then I'm going to bring on my friend. There's always a backstory, right? So I got to share my backstory. I get this call maybe in the year 2000, 2001, somewhere in there. And we were running Little Ninjas at the time in our school. Was the first, preschool program that we had. And so I said, hey, at the time it was Melody Schumann. Hey, I'm Melody Schumann. I'm going to be at this URSHA convention. Can you bring some kids down and help me do this demo? And, I wasn't in the demo. I just brought kids. And I said, well, absolutely. Because I've always loved her. I think she's an amazing soul. She's beautiful beyond beautiful. And she's just got this quality that's infectious, that makes you want to just be a better person, that even through your own challenges, because I've seen her go through hard times too, to stay positive, to stay engaged, to stay relevant. That's the art of it all. And she does that really, really well. So after that, we've kind of been in contact in and out, and we've done a bunch of speaking stuff together. And now she's at the top of the game, with skills. And when we spoke together at Harvard last year, me and Roland Osborne and Melody, I was sandwiched between Melody and Roland. So after I got off, I'm listening to Roland speak, and I go, the three of us should be doing more together. And so why not go big? So we're taking it to Europe, and I'm really excited about that. And as I'm trying to think how to challenge us, as I will today on this, I'm going to ask Melody when I know she's listening, is that for a minute, we're no longer, the creator of skills. We're no longer the creator of Kids Love Life Skills. We're two school owners trying to position ourselves in our community, not necessarily the industry, as life skills education leaders. What would I do? Because I think there's a huge bridge, for people to really embrace the higher learning of child development and psychology. You should have a pre-frame. You should read a couple things. You should, position yourself. There's a lot of learning, practical application that I think needs to go with that. Just like life skills education. I've spent, I don't know, thousands, maybe 5,000, 6,000 hours up to this point of reading and research and trial and error and development and failure to even get to this small point with Kids Love Life Skills. And we've only begun to scratch the surface. So last part of that, and is why I've got Mel here today, is I just got back from Kukiwon, which is in Korea. And they had me and the guy who wrote the Disney Way there. Right? So I'm sitting next to this, I'm going, you got me, the guy from Disney Way, and Red Bull. And this whole thing for Kukiwon is called The Future of Taekwondo. There wasn't a martial arts guy or demo in sight. You got me, Disney, and Red Bull. So they really see that I think Red Bull really talked about the culture. Disney talked about the Disney Way. And you know who really turned me on to Disney? Mel, because she used to work for Disney. And I think she was Minnie Mouse. I'll ask her when she comes on. But that was super powerful. So I got everybody aboard. I want to wait till lots of people get aboard, kill a little time, say some cool things. But here she is, ladies and gentlemen. Dun, 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 dun. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going?
It's pretty good. We're both wearing black. We both got our hair spiked up. I just feel so together.
That's how we roll. How are you doing today?
I'm good. I got up this morning. I did some kickboxing. My older son's here. We're going to go to Reboot with a cryogenic sleep deprivation dark tank. And I guess it's supposed to reboot your body. So after we get off of this, I'm going to go check it out.
Sounds super cool. Well, I'm here here at my house, and I've got the team from the Motivated Martial Artists. They're here from the UK.
Awesome. Welcome.
We now have a partnership with Skills in the UK and Ireland with these guys as the masterminds behind it. I'll tell you more about that towards the end of the show. And then I also have Michael Evans here.
Michael, what's happening, sir?
My skills executive here from New York, and we just recorded a couple of podcasts for the Motivated Martial Artists and have been doing brainstorming for the last few days. So highly motivated right now.
Cool. So let's help the school owner.
Let's do it.
Let's talk to them. How do they position themselves as a life skills leader in the community without talking about our products? That's the challenge. How can we do that for the first part of this? And then we'll talk all about our products.
There's so many ways that we can, because we have a lot of experience working with children, right? We work with them every single day. So it immediately gives us credibility to share our insights and experiences on how children learn and grow. And parents come to us in the martial arts classroom to help as their therapists, right? How many times has a parent come to you and said, my child doesn't listen at home, and will you help me with that? So we already share information. So with social media, it's a great platform for us to share blogs, share podcasts, share quick tips, and even engage in community groups on advice. I do that in my local community, even though I don't own my school anymore, in this Pinellas County Moms group. Whenever they're asking questions about their kid and they're frustrated, usually it's some mom talking about her teenage daughter, teenage son, and the bonehead decisions that they're making right now. And I'll jump in there and talk about their stage of development and how the prefrontal cortex is under construction because their adolescent brain is going into an adult brain. So the front part where the executive decision making is doesn't have as much energy as the back part of the brain because it's growing. And parents love that stuff. They want your insight. They want your feedback. They want your help. So we're in a unique opportunity to do parenting seminars, teaching seminars. I have a lot of teachers now who attend my certifications because it directly correlates to what they're doing in the classroom.
Yeah, and I think positioning ourselves that way is really what it's about. We've always said, it's so much more than kicking and punching. It's so much more than kicking and punching. But I think a lot of school owners stop right there. That's about as far as they get. It's this blank.
What we explain is a lot of all the schools that I work with is we are a child development facility. We help children develop as a whole, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially. We just happen to use martial arts as that vehicle. And when you pitch it that way to the parents, now parents really can wrap their head around putting their child in martial arts. Because not every parent is interested in kicking and punching, having their kids learn how to kick and punch, but every parent is interested in helping their child become a better version of themselves. And what better program to help them become a better version of themselves than the martial arts?
So what are your thoughts on this, Mel? So many martial artists will almost critique us about that we're not enough martial arts, that we need to have that balance. Otherwise, we shouldn't even call it martial arts at all. How can we help engage them to show that they can still teach an art? And, some of them are big on self-defense, right? How can they do both, to satisfy that? Because I find I get stonewalled with that all the time when I'm discussing child development and life skills. They're like, but they've got to learn to defend themselves. It's the bullies and da-da-da. What do you think we can do to help not win them over, but maybe potentially open their mind to the possibilities?
Well, first thing that martial artists need to understand is that traditional martial arts or hardcore self-defense martial arts was written for young male adults to defend themselves in the military, right? That stuff wasn't written for kids, and it's not appropriate for a child's stage of development. As a matter of fact, I grew up in martial arts in the 80s like you did, and we did very well with it, but we're anomalies. So an anomaly means that you are very unique beyond your typical stage of development, and that lies in like the 5% of children your age, right? So a lot of martial artists, they see an anomaly like yourself, myself, and the guys that I have here, and they say that's the standard on how every kid should be, but you're only targeting that 5%. So you're losing 95% of your children's audience by having those high standards. And if you understand their stage of development and you modify your curriculum to target each particular age, then you could still teach the self-defense and retain a large percent of your students.
Yeah, I think it's how we introduce, how we nurture them, how we bring them along. In the days we grew up, it's a white belt. First night is sparring night. If you beat him up and he comes back, then he gets to hang with you. Now we actually make sparring optional, but you can't earn a black belt in the school without sparring. That was really hard. I fought for 20 years, but to recognize that I'm losing so many students by choosing to make them spar from day one, and they've got to know how to take a punch and yada, yada. I recognize that is inappropriate because martial arts was made by men for men to do battle. But a lot of people are still embracing that, and I think that's often the challenge that I work with as a life skills educator with people is we can't get past that. Well, it doesn't matter if he can't fight his way out of a fight. Who cares if he has focus and self-confidence? Yeah. I think it matters a lot.
If you have focus and you have confidence and you have all these life skills that we teach in our schools, you decrease your chances of getting bullied in the first place. Yes. So sometimes the best self-defense is not necessarily what you physically can do to defend yourself against other people. It's what you intellectually, emotionally, and socially can do as well, which are three powerful categories out of 4 that are often overlooked when it comes to actual self-defense.
And I share that with people all the time. I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods in the city. My dad's got a big giant sign that says Beliso Karate School. Every day was like a war zone trying to get to school and back. Oh, you're that Beliso kid, huh? Let's see that karate stuff. And it's like, here we go again. So I actually learned I could walk and talk my way out of so many fights. So that type of martial arts became very prevalent because you can't fight all the time. Right. You're going to lose a lot. And I lost a lot of street fights or you could end up dead. So learning to walk out and talk your way out of a fight became an art.
Yeah, my problem was I kept talking myself into fights because I didn't know. And martial arts helped me not do that anymore.
Especially, you were in New Orleans, right?
New Orleans, yes. Yes.
New Orleans. I better say that
Knowledge.
correctly. Do not say New Orleans. Yeah,
Yeah.
your Saints didn't make it this year. What
Yes.
happened?
Yes.
What happened to your Saints?
Yeah.
I'm going to gloat on that because our 49ers, for the first time in like since the 80s, are actually, in the NFC championship.
I really like the
You know,
49ers. I love Garoppolo. I love your tight end. So it's a good
yeah,
team.
Samuel and Bosa and
Yeah,
Kittle. Yeah, they're
yeah,
a good group.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
group. Good
Great
group.
group. I'm rooting for them. I'd like to see an Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl, though. State Farm is going to blow up the commercials if that happens. But we'd love to.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with all of them. I like all four teams that are left. But back to
So,
Marshall.
Miss Mel. So,
Talk football for the next 30 minutes if you let me to.
so here we are. We're that school owner. What are the 5 top things he can embrace immediately, apply in his classes? Again, I know we can sell our products, but if you had to tell any new school owner, young school owner, if you want to course correct right now, if you want to pivot right now, just do these 3 things. And I believe your retention will get better. You'll make a better environment. You'll endear parents to you. What are 3 things they could do right now?
Number one is do your homework on understanding what to expect and what not to expect from children at each particular stage of development. Really dive in and figure out, where are 3 and 4-year-olds physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially, so that I don't have the bar set too high and I lose the students, that average child who can't keep up. Do the same thing for 5 and 6, 7 and 9, and 10 and up. I mean, with access to Google, you could just Google stages of development for each age group and study up on it. A quick example is one of the reasons why 3 and 4-year-olds can't sit still for more than 5 seconds is not because they're lazy or they lack discipline. It's because they don't have that core muscle strength to hold their body up for a long period of time. So after 5 seconds, they're tired, and then they tend to slump and then roll around on the floor. So understanding that is my son's rolling all over the floor. It's because in a stage of development, his core muscles aren't developed. So when he's sitting, it starts to get tired. That's why he's doing that. But it's not. This doesn't mean that he's lacking discipline. So studying up on your homework and understanding that is extremely valuable. Number 2, as far as studying up on your homework, is really understanding the difference between behavior by fear and behavior by desire. So a lot of martial arts instructors still use threats, coercion, and punishment to get children to behave in class. Like, if you don't sit still, you're going to get push-ups. And that's behavior by fear. And it stimulates cortisol. It makes for a negative experience, leads to anxiety, leads to stress, and decreases the children's ability to learn. Where instead of saying, if you don't sit still, you're going to get push-ups, say, let's see who can say better than Mike. Ready, on mark, take go. And then complimenting Mike, who normally is rolling all over the floor. Wow, you are sitting awesome right now. I'm talking to Michael Evans because he's sitting right here. And now all of a sudden you're like, Michael, great, you're sitting better than everybody else now. Now that's behavior by desire because he's challenged. So,
and that's one of the core ones, Mel, that you taught me. I mean, we've used that for 20 years because I grew up in the punishment. My dad was military. So everything was punishment, punishment, punishment. I recently saw some guy's post that he keeps a frozen pink belt. So if you forget your belt, you have to put on and wear a frozen pink belt in class, right? I mean, that's crazy. So that's one of the ones, everybody, I've used for 20 years. We don't use fear, but we'll challenge them. We'll go to that kid that might be who's a spinner and say, wow, look at little Johnny sitting still like a black belt. Who could do a better job than Johnny? Because we know kids love attention.
Yeah.
And so we can offer proper praise and proper attention.
And let's be clear. Behavior by fear does work, right? But is it the most effective way to get children to learn and grow? And is it the most effective way to retain them for a long period of time? Behavior by fear is the number one trigger for students dropping out of martial arts. So if you can work on transformational vocabulary and work on building behavior by desire by studying the most effective teaching practices in the classroom without using direct coercion and punishment, your school is going to thrive. So that's the second homework assignment. And then the third homework assignment is do your homework on parenting tips, on things, because parents come to you and they are like, Mike never listens to me at home. What do you mean he doesn't listen? Well, I'll yell at, hey, Mike, it's time for dinner. And he doesn't come out of his room. And if you understand that connection is the number one reason why kids don't listen to their parents because they're not connected to them, then you can tell the parent, well, what's your level of connection with your child when you're telling them to do something? A 1 means you're not connected at all, which is, Mike, it's time for dinner. A 5 is highly connected, where you walk into Mike's room, takes 10 seconds, get on his eye level and pat him on his shoulder and say, hey, buddy, Mike, it's time for dinner. Let's go have dinner. Understanding those types of strategies that you could share with the parents, that's going to, number one, position you as a child development expert. Number two, it's going to increase the perceived value of your martial arts school, because now you're not just a kicking and punching instructor, you're a life leader, which every parent wants more life leaders for their kids.
I agree. I would never look at a child and say, pay attention, look at me when I'm talking to you. But I would get down at eye level, put my hand on his shoulder and say, sir, where should your eyes be right now when we're talking?
Sure.
Right?
And again, they both work, right? Telling them to pay attention, we'll get them to follow directions. But if we're talking about a martial arts school who wants to increase retention and increase value, which one is going to be more effective and more valuable?
Right. And in staff training, we talk about that a lot. If it's unsafe, it's in the heat of the moment, a kid's walking into the street while you're going to the park at day camp, that's a different day. You don't have time to create a lesson. It's a safety issue. So maybe a stern, fast statement, step back on the sidewalk would be more appropriate than trying to chase this kid down, sitting down at eye level and doing that. So we recognize that as well when we work with kids. So what we're learning is fear is a motivator. We understand it. Look at marketing. Marketing is, a lot of it is fear-based. Fear sells, fear works. But is it the best way to cultivate your tribe, to engage parents and improve your retention? Only you can make that call, right? The whole thing with the new Cobra Kai commercial, the Panda Kai. Have you seen that?
Yeah, he's a buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Marty and I go back to Atlantic City martial arts show days. So it was really cool to see him on TV.
Yeah, it's good to see that whole revival with all of them, doing so well with that, with the show on YouTube as well as these commercials now. But that's it. It's a running joke about Cobra Kai, about that mindset. But you have to just ask yourself, what is it that you want? We can't tell you what you should and should not do. And if you think you're effectively serving your community, you're making a difference by using fear, then rock and roll. That's your call. We can't make that for you. But I can say, we have a little over 1,000 students between 2 locations, that fear is not somewhere I want to live personally, emotionally, spiritually. You've known me a long time now. I just don't live that way. Because fear was something that was my fuel for so many years. Again, growing up poor, carrying a gun at 12, running in gangs. It's just, I don't want to survive. I want to live. And survivalists, I get it. If you're in a war, you want to survive. There's no time for that. But truly, you want to hear this was really cool. The end of the Disney book, all Walt said, everything's about love. It's all about love. And can you believe they make all these military guys read, I don't know, Wadsworth Longfellow or something, this book about love? Because they want to make sure they're going to love each other when they go into battle and take care of one another. So love to me is still the highest of emotions. There's jealousy, envy, all the rest. But to me, love is still the highest emotion. And if we can cultivate that through proper language, through proper research, knowing how 3 to 4 year olds behave, all that, are you willing to do that? Do you love being an educator that much that you're willing to put in the time? And I think that's the big thing. Again, we have programs. A lot of people will buy our programs and not fully invest in them because they don't understand them, or they don't really truly believe that. And then they end up, dropping out of 6 months and saying it doesn't work. And so it's something I want as the school owners out there to be mindful. Do you really love making a difference in children's lives? If you do, then you will learn the skill set, acquire the skill set you need to be that person in your community of life skills learners and higher education for kids. Yeah. And we both have kids. I've got 3 of them. You've got 1. And we know it's not an exact science, right? We think we got it down, then they change. And then we tried one technique. Believe me, I've been using that one for months now, Mel. Well, my 11-year-old son, my wife's looking at me, will you knock that off? No, you don't understand. His executive brain, it's like it's growing, so he can only use the back a little bit. And he wakes up every day, and without even exercising, he's doing the equivalent of 4 hours of work,out. And she goes, I don't want to hear it anymore. But I'm trying. I'm trying because,
it's not that psychobabble.
Yeah, it is to them. So, on the simplest of terms, what do you think the parents' biggest fears are that we can speak to in our emails, our social media posts? You've done so much research. I would never put in a header of an email, right? You want to learn focus and discipline, but I will put in the subject of an email to a potential prospect. Would you like your child to be a better listener? So what are some of the things we should 3 things you should take away with, if you want to be better communicators with parents? Because it really isn't the other way around. The parents need to understand. No, they don't. It's the other way around. We as educators need to understand parents. I think that's really what makes retention huge in our schools.
Yeah, and there's so many. One of the biggest key points that we talk about when we're educating parents is that martial arts helps develop the child as a whole, physically, intellectually, emotionally, and socially. We use the wow effect of martial arts to help teach them life lessons. And when you pitch it that way to a parent, they're like, oh, yeah, it's not, like I said earlier, not every parent is interested in their kid learning kicking and punching, but every parent is interested in helping their child become a better version of themselves. So just clearly defining that martial arts is just a vehicle to help them become a better version of themselves. Now the parents are like, oh, now I get it. Now I want to put my child in martial arts, because what parent doesn't want their kid to be a better version of themselves, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's a thin line, I don't want to, I coach my son's basketball team right now. I don't want to be that soccer dad. I don't want to be that baseball mom. There's a thin line. So when we talk about being a better version of themselves, and this applies to our kids as well as our students, they have their own version of that too. And we need to embrace and respect that as well. I'm here to guide my son. I must help him become a man. I get all that. But they also have a very unique individual there that we need to help cultivate as well. And kids are different, right? My son's into basketball right now, heavy. So he's into baseball cards, and my wife bitches because I spend thousands of dollars on basketball cards every month. But that's his thing, and I want to help cultivate it. And if he goes on to something else, so be it. But whatever they're into that helps cultivate the individual at that time of their life developmentally, I think we should support.
Sure.
I think we should support. I know, Van was into Marvels. Has he moved on from that?
Oh no.
Has he moved on? Has he moved on from Marvel?
He's superhero all the way. Yeah, he's Batman,
Okay.
Spider-Man, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze.
Okay. Yeah, because we went from Paw Patrol to Thomas the Train to Yo Gabba Gabba to freaking, we've gone through them all. Right now it's basketball. So that may change.
Yeah, he didn't do Paw Patrol. He went straight to superheroes.
And rock and roll, that's a good combination, right? Rock and roll. No, we've been disciplined. We've spent 30 minutes staying off our program. So let's talk. Let's talk about it now. Why should people be part of Skills? I'm going to tell them. I have excellent kids. Everybody knows that. It was originally Little Ninjas. I took it and grew it into my program, Excellent Kids, because this Excellent Kids came around way before Melody launched Skills. But I saw even 20 years ago the value of Little Ninjas. She's like the Jimi Hendrix of child development. I even saw 20 years ago that Little Ninjas was light years ahead of anything out there. But when all the craziness, I never saw Little Ninja 2.0, Little Ninja 3.0, 10.0. So I was left to my own devices. So I took it. I added my life skills, my mat chats, everything that I do, the badges, and I created Excellent Kids. And then I licensed the right to use that a couple of years ago. That's how valuable it is. For our culture, it just didn't make sense to change gears and move into complete Skills, but we are still partially Skills. It says on every one of my Excellent Kids documents, Skills right down in the corner. So that's, here's a big vote there. Everybody should be doing this. I know that's undermining myself because I have a program, but it's nowhere what Mel does with Skills. So you go.
So Skills is basically, it's a reverse training concept, because when I worked for NAPMA 20 years ago, I just told the story of the podcast, so I'm going to repeat it for the third time, I think today. When I was working for NAPMA 20 years ago, we did a survey to martial arts schools in the average kids program, which was 7 to 12-year-olds at the time, and we said, what's the average dropout rank and average dropout age in your martial arts school? And the stats that came back were mind-blowing. It was the average child was dropping out of green belt, which is mid-level, and the age was 7. It was between the 7 and 12-year-olds. The largest dropout age were the 12-year-olds in the green belts class, and they were dropping out because they were losing interest. Interestingly enough, the second largest dropout age was the 7-year-old green belts. So we're talking about the same rank. 7-year-old green belts were dropping out because it was getting too hard. So here you are with 12-year-olds quitting at green belt because it's too easy, 7-year-olds quitting because it's too hard. Obviously, we were running roller coaster classes where you're trying to run a drill that's challenging enough for the 12-year-olds. The 7-year-olds can't keep out, so they quit. So then you make the drill simplified so the 7-year-olds can keep up. 12-year-olds lose interest, so they're quitting. And I wanted to stop that that gap. I wanted to try to figure out how can we get more students to black belt without dropping out. And that's where skills came about. I just started studying the stages of development and the way that children learn, and realizing that at each particular stage, they're developing skills. 3 and 4-year-olds are developing early skills because they're in preschool. 5 and 6-year-olds are your kindergartners and first graders. They're developing basic fundamental skills like focus, teamwork, and so forth that you're very familiar with. 7 to 9-year-olds are your second, third, and fourth graders. They're developing core skills now. Their fine motor skills are starting to become developed. They're learning how to write in script and so forth. And then 10 to 14-year-olds are now developing extreme skills, their dexterity, their instincts, and so forth. So I said, this is interesting that you're developing these different skills based on age. So instead of me teaching martial arts to build those skills, I did a reverse training concept and said, let's list out the 8 skills for each particular stage of development and then plug martial arts in that way. And that's what skills essentially is. It's a child development program that actually uses martial arts as its vehicle. And we're in over 1,000 schools in 24 countries across 6 continents. So we definitely got it down to the science. Everything that we do in the skills program is backed by scientific reasoning. And that's super cool. So for those schools that don't want to reinvent the wheel, want done-for-you planners and programs that work, that the kids love, that the instructors love, that the parents love, that's skills is for that type of instructor.
So how about this argument, Mel? We have it a lot here in California, with the co-ops, the charter schools that truly believe 7 to 12-year-olds should be hanging out together. The 12-year-old develops more leadership skills. The 7-year-old rises to the occasion because they're hanging out with older kids. They do some separated learning, but they do a lot of learning together. That's so popular here in California. We have tons of charter schools like that and co-ops. My sister runs a co-op in South Carolina, North Carolina.
It's a good concept, but when we're talking about the skills program, we take the average child and we develop the skills for their stage of development. We put them in the top 5% of their stage of development. So a simplified example is 5 and 6-year-olds. The average 5-year-old can do 5 kicks without putting their foot down. If you saw a 5-year-old who could do 50 kicks without putting their foot down, you're immediately like, wow, that kid's an anomaly. He's in the top 5% of his age group because he can do that. And skills does that. So for white belt, for balance, in order to get their balance check, they have to do 5 kicks. Now, but next belt level, 10, 15, 20, and so forth. So at the 9th belt level, they're doing 50 kicks. And what that does is we take the average, we took that average child and put him in the top 5% of his stage of development on that particular skill. And we do that across 8 skills. 7-year-olds, as I mentioned, they are just learning how to write their name in cursive. 12-year-olds have been writing their name in cursive for 5 years. Or even if a 12-year-old just started writing cursive, their fine motor skills are way more advanced than the 7-year-olds. And how this correlates to martial arts is a 7-year-old sidekick is not going to have that fine detail like a 12-year-old sidekick. So if you have a 7 to 12-year-old in the same class, the 7-year-old's going to not look as proficient as the 12-year-old, and parents compare them. And that's what leads to dropouts as well, because they're saying, the 7-year-old doesn't look good, but they're also at a totally different intellectual stage of development too. So a 12-year-old is going to pick up a form much faster than the 7-year-old. So you have that challenge as well. So I understand for a co-op or a play or a extracurricular activity, the many benefits to having multiple age groups working together.
Cool. So people, feel free to post in your questions and your comments. I love this one from Michael, who's sitting there right there with you. And I'm a huge advocate of this. I think instructors need to recognize that a program has to change them before it will help change their students. Plug and play still requires some self-development. I think that's the challenge just with franchises or small businesses. Everyone thinks it's a turnkey operation. And I tell people nothing is turnkey. I've been running small businesses since my early 20s. And I'll be 58 next week. There's nothing that's plug and play. There's nothing that's turnkey. That's the salesmanship 101. You have to invest. So that part of self-development is real crucial, because you have to truly believe in what you're doing. So you're fully on board, you're fully engaged, and you're fully implemented. I'm sure you've experienced, Mel, as well as I. So many people come to us, it's not working. Well, are you using this element of the program? Well, no, it doesn't fit us. So we're going to modify it. We're going to modify it to I lost Mel. Let's see if I can get her back. She just dropped out. Where'd she go? But I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm sure she's hearing me. She's coming, power issue. Thank you, Michael. So I get that, well, we modified it and it's got to be like this. And I'm going, what? It's been thought out. There's been lots of research, money, development. Why is it that some of our clients will fully implement our programs and others will modify it and change it and use only a small portion of it? So that's why I think Michael's really talking about it's so important to know thyself, know who you are, know what your why is. I'm the big why guy. And you watch that Simon Sinek Golden Circle piece on the why. It's vital. I know who I am. So when I wake up every day, and it's not ego, believe me, it's probably knowing yourself is one of the most humble acts that you can cultivate in your life. But I know who I am. I know what type of culture, I know what we want to perpetuate. And so the knowledge that I seek, the information that I seek is in line with that. Classic example. Right now we finished remodeling a home. Now we're doing landscaping, right? I'm not going to study how to bake chocolate chip cookies right now because it doesn't serve my purpose. My purpose that I need served is understanding these landscapers. So when they're throwing cost at me for a pony wall and cement and this and that, I have a good idea of what they're doing. So I can at least confidently communicate with them my needs, my vision for what I want my yards to look like, as well as know that I'm staying within my budget, as well as being able to trust what they're offering me as good information. You feel me? So it's the same thing here. And I work with so many school owners in my mentoring and consulting where they've been at this 20 years. They've probably had 10 different mentors. They've so many different associations under their belt. They've used all these different programs. And I believe the reason that happens, from my experience, is that they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are. And that's why I'm very passionate about the 4-day experience that I facilitated. It's time. We'll do it in Europe, which Melody will be there, Roland will be there. I'm going to blow their mind because those extra 2 days is a lot of fun. And that part of self-development is vital, is crucial. And I learned that firsthand myself when I was a big, whatever you call it. I was a pop star in the Philippines and I achieved that version of success. #1 album, 3 top 10 hits. And I was so unhappy, folks. I was so unhappy. And I was so unbalanced. And I went, wow. And the example I use of that, and you could put hashtag I feel you, is have you ever had this goal that you wanted to achieve so badly? And then when you finally achieve that goal, you look around and go, oh, this isn't all what it's cut out to be. Anybody? Who could put hashtag I have? You have this goal. You're so fixated on this goal. You want to achieve this goal. You get this goal and you go, wow, this isn't what I really wanted. I've seen it happen. I know a guy who went to college and made it all the way to pre-med. And he looked around and said, this is not what I want to do with my life. So knowing thyself is huge, because you are still the architect of your business, right? You are still the visionary. Yes, you've got a great team. Yes, they run the show and all those great things. You can't do it without them. But ultimately, Steve Jobs was the visionary of Apple, right? Until the end. So think about that. Knowing who you are is very vital, and developing yourself and making that change within yourself, as Michael's sharing, is really what's key. It's really key, right? All right, so let's do a quick commercial break. I want to say this is Success Never Sleeps. I am your host, Brannon Beliso. My guest today is Melody Johnson, who's roaming around trying to get back on with us. Who we sponsored by? #1, my studio. I love Tule and the gang. They're good people. And like I said, everything's about love for me. I'm the love guy, and I'm passionate about love is crucial for me. And I love two of them. So I would definitely recommend checking out my studio. Market Muscles, Steven Reinstein. He's a personal client of mine. I mentor him, another guy that I love deeply. And then, of course, LC Accounting, my sister. You need a killer bookkeeper. She does BJJ, and she's disciplined as all can be. She keeps me in line. Right? She keeps me in line. And then, of course, Kids Love Life Skills. See, there's even love in Kids Love Life Skills. I love it. I love what I do. So Mel's there. I'm going to bring her back in. We'll see if we can pick up our thoughts from where we left off. My sister, you need a killer bookkeeper. She does beat. All right, they're ready. Are you there, Mel?
Okay.
Cool.
There we go.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you back. So Mel, what do we got in the lab? What are we going to give these people in Europe? Well, how are we going to take them to another level? That's my whole goal. I was even inspired back at Harvard just because we got such learning beyond anything I've ever learned. But again, when I was at Kokiwon in Korea, just seeing the future, how can we get people in the next 5 to 10 years? What's some of the stuff you got in the lab, if you care to share?
A lot of science. So understanding the science behind everything that we do as martial arts instructors is going to prove to be highly valuable for you as an instructor to understand what to do and what not to do, but also how to translate the value to your parents is going to increase retention and increase enrollments. So one of the things I'm going to roll out in Europe is my brain skills content, which is going to go over 8 cognitive skills on how children learn. So normally an instructor just looks at a child and they're either a fast learner or slow learner. The brain skills is it's 8 different ways that children learn and identifying where their strengths are and also where they can show improvement. One example is called multiple simultaneous attention, which is being able to do several things at one time. Consider patterns, multiple simultaneous attention. Then there's sustained attention, which is being able to pay attention to something for an extended period of time. There's response inhibition, which is being able to pay attention and not get distracted by another kid talking or something going on around you. And breaking those 8 different cognitive skills will help you be a better teacher for your students. And also, it's going to help your students learn at a better pace once you understand where their strengths are and also the areas that are considered their weaknesses. So that's just one example.
Cool. I'm excited. And this is a collective. Normally when I facilitate, it's time. It's me for 8 freaking hours for 3 days in a row, 4 days almost, just me. So I feel a lot of pressure off, that I've got such great, they say you're the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. And I never have ever walked out of Melody's events or spent time with her and didn't feel like I learned, grew, and became a better person. Same thing with Roland. I believe that's real important. If I hang on, and this isn't, I'm going to say it straight. If I hang out with a bunch of knuckleheads, I don't seem like I need to do any growing. I'm way ahead the learning curve. But you sit in a room at Harvard, you sit with Mel, Roland, myself, we challenge your thinking. And at the end of the day, it might strengthen your conviction. You might go, nope, this is what I truly believe in. Forget Roland and Brannon and Mel, what they have to say. This is who I am. This is what I believe. Cool. It's your version of success. It's your life. But if for one moment you could just see what's out there. I mean, there's a whole world out there and there's a lot of learning. And I'm an avid reader like you are. And when I read things, I filter them, though, as I was saying while we were trying to get you back on, that if you know who you are, you know why you do what you do, then the information you take in, you being the architect of your life, will be the knowledge you need. Because Roland says it, right? We're drowning in information and starving for wisdom. So what is that wisdom, Mel? What do you think that's wisdom school owners need to be effective right now? Right now, what's the wisdom they need?
They need to know the why behind everything that they do. All the way down to the why on why you do warm-ups. Most people think you do the warm-ups just to warm up the muscles so that you don't get injured. But what warm-ups are doing is it's increasing oxygen into your lungs, which pumps oxygen into your blood, which stimulates oxygen through your brain. And when you increase that level of oxygen in your brain, you have what's called an electrical spike, which is all of your neurons firing at a much higher level. So in a learning environment, that warm-up helps kickstart the brain so that you can now teach them whatever your lesson plan is for the class. So even that, understanding that why will help you find more value in what you do and also translate that same value to your students and your parents.
Yeah, I remember the first time you sat kids in a circle. And I saw it, in Little Ninja drills, but I saw it in Ursha going, no, everyone's supposed to be standing in a lineup. What the hell? They're all sitting in a circle, and I go to my kids' class, everyone's sitting in the circle on the carpet. I go over here, everyone's sitting in the circle. So you're right. I mean, you want to create the best environment for kids to grow in. And something as simple as, 3 and 4-year-olds in a circle makes all the difference in the world. All the difference. We don't have them run in place either. That doesn't work. They got to run. You ask a kid to run in place, that never happens. So we would never warm up a child by making a young kid run in place. They run in a big circle and they go nuts, and I get that. I get that. But it's all those little things that I can say, We've been around 20 years, 1,000 students. Again, we broke $2 million just in the schools last year again. And it really is that there's tried and true practices because the kid is still a kid. And there's certain practices that Mel's been doing from 20 years ago that she's just heightened it. You're always refining, you're always bettering it. And that's what I think makes Mel an innovator is that, yeah, it's tried and true. A hug goes a long way. Appropriate touch goes a long way. So I'm not afraid to get down on one knee, look at a kid and put my hand on his shoulder when I'm talking with them to make that connection. That still works because people are still people. But you're right. Children are learning differently today. We have social media, we have iPads. Things are much different. And if we don't make those type of changes, then we will become dinosaurs. And I'm not even talking about money, right? People make changes in their business simply because they want to make more money. I believe money is a byproduct of living passionately. I've always lived that way, and it's cultivated into where we are. So be mindful of that. When you think of Mel's skills or my kids' life skills, don't grab it because we have clients worldwide or you think you're going to make money. Like Michael said, make sure it fits your why and you're truly in tune with that. Cool? Cool. So what else, Mel? What else can we add to that?
Yeah, I think that's a lot of wisdom for people to digest and download. Let's just recap some of the primary takeaways for school owners who are listening. Three things that you can do right now that you can immediately implement into your school and see better results is number one, doing your homework and knowing what to expect and what not to expect for children's stages of development. And the value behind this is you won't get frustrated when you see a 3-year-old putting their high block like this because they have low tone in their arms. So having them hold a strong high block shouldn't be expected. But when you see a 3-year-old holding a strong high block, you can go to the parent and go, wow, 3 or 4-year-old stage of development, it means they have low tone in their arms. Your child is above their physical stage of development for their upper body muscles because they're able to hold that high block in a strong position for more than 5 seconds. A parent understanding that and saying it to the parent, now the value of your program skyrockets, and the way they perceive you as a child development expert now, not just a kicking and punching and blocking instructor. So do your homework on the stages of development so that you can know what to expect and you can translate that type of value to your parents. Start to study positive teaching strategies so that you can drive behavior based on desire, not behavior based on fear. That's number 2. And then number 3, study up on parenting. Create a toolkit of parenting tips that you can share with your parents when they come to you for advice. You could also share to your audience via email, your social media platforms, because when you share tips and advice for them, again, that positions you as a child development expert. And when you're considered a child development expert and not just a kicking, punching, blocking instructor, you're gonna get more students through your door. You're gonna have higher retention. You're gonna get more enrollments, more referrals, and so forth.
Yes, ma'am. So I know we both read a lot. What is the one singular parenting book they should read if they only read one book?
Whole Brain Child by Daniel Siegel. He really breaks down the science and psychology of how the brain works and what's happening in a child's mind through tantrums, emotional outbursts, all types of behavior. He really goes in and teaches you how to parent with the brain and mind. That's why I'm big on cortisol is unhealthy for a child. So whenever you're threatening, coercing, punishing your child, you're stimulating cortisol in their brain. That leads to stress, anxiety, and lower learning capabilities, and so forth. And understanding what dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins do for a child. So stimulating that anticipation, the hugs, the touches, the I love yous, those types of connections. All of that stuff is extremely valuable if you want to have a happy, healthy child.
Yeah, I was working with one of my children in San Francisco. I have a room particular and I'm never there anymore. I've cut that way back, but there's no mirrors. It's a white room. It's very clean for that reason. But one of the therapists said, if they start to get anxious, you need to hug them. I said, what? He's agitated. He's aggravated. You want me to literally hug this kid, while he's agitated? She says, yes, that they need to feel safe. And that energy going out like this is because they're trying to reel themselves in because they're all out there. And I said, wow, that makes a lot of sense, right? Because they're trying to process emotions and stuff they can't even label yet.
So when a child is throwing a tantrum, that's the cortisol running through their brain. When you hug them, in which my son will have his fits. I hug him and I sing the "Mommy Loves You" song. And what happens is the brain releases a chemical called oxytocin, and that oxytocin helps counterattack the cortisol, so that their brain can now get back to a more reasonable level for them to calm themselves down. So there's science behind that hug that really is clearly described in Daniel Siegel's book. It's
Cool. So write that in there for us, K1, the whole brain child. Put that in the comments for everybody, please. And who's the author of that book again, Mel?
Daniel Siegel, Siegel.
Siegel, Daniel Siegel. So that's in there. Hopefully it's on Audible, because that's going to be my next book. And I read a lot. I listen to a lot of books now, just because of the way my life is constructed.
Me as well. And I listen to Whole Brain Child before I do any kind of like instructor certifications, parenting seminars. That way it's always fresh in my brain. Let me, here it is right here, so I'll show you what it looks like. Emotions. Good to see. Pause it. So that's what the book looks like, the audiobook.
That's awesome. And be mindful that it's much like doing our basics in martial arts. Every time I do my white belt requirements, I learn something new. And I believe that is because I go about it with that mindset, my love for it. You love what you do, Mel. And so having that core foundation of a book, I think you reference it again and again, because it's like, well, I didn't see that the first time. Well, I didn't get that the second time. Whoa, that's been there this whole time. It's pretty powerful. And I think it's a great example of leadership for all of us to be inspired by. You got to love it. You got to love it. So share with them why they should come join us in Mallorca, Spain. It's your birthday.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's your birthday.
I'll be 44 on March 29th on that Sunday, and I'm speaking on that day, which is super cool. Well, first and foremost, when you gather a bunch of like-minded people together, your motivation just skyrockets, right? So even like having my friends here from the UK, from the Motivated Martial Artist podcast, just us being face to face. We worked out this agreement where we inked a partnership deal for skills in the UK and Ireland, and they flew here so that we can all be face to face. I flew Mike down from New York, and just being together, the motivation, the camaraderie, and the ideas, just hanging out and talking is going to take skills to the next level. So imagine being in the beautiful Spain with you, Roland, who's a super wise, super awesome guy, myself, and a bunch of other like-minded martial artists. There's nothing like being at a live event.
There isn't. Again, borrowing from the Disney way, they talked about that was General Electric was one of the case studies. They have to meet face to face. They refuse to only do Slack and Calendly and stuff like this. They refuse. FaceTime is still valuable and it's crucial, people. So don't forget that, in everything that you do in cultivating your brands and your why. So do we want to share anything with the folks joining you from the UK? Do they want to add any 2 cents? Do they want to? I want to make sure we're respectful of them. They're hanging out.
So we've got. I'll introduce you guys. Gavin Cook. We have Gavin Cook here.
Hey, Gavin, sir.
Hey, Brannon. How you doing?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
Good.
And then we have Jackson White.
Hey, Brannon.
Jackson, sir, welcome.
That guy's a beast right there. If you've read the book "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins, I feel like this is like David Goggins' twin brother. He's special forces, just awesome dude. So these guys have a podcast called Motivational Martial Artists, and I'll let you say something really fast about it.
Cool.
Yeah, so we started the podcast about 6 months. We're myself and Jackson. We're old school instructors, probably much like yourself and Melody. We came from that 80s background of traditional martial arts. We both run schools in the UK. I adopted the skills syllabus into my traditional syllabus about a year and a half ago. Absolutely loved it. It's increased my school numbers, but more importantly, it's increased my retention massively since running the skills program. So again, you're talking about reaching out to people in Europe. Get behind it. It's done wonders for my school, and that's why we've really embraced it and taken on the partnership for the UK, because we can see so much potential in the UK where there's a lot of traditional school owners that are maybe trained 20, 30 years ago, and all they're doing is crundling together what they learned back in them days and teaching children and wondering why it's not working, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, That's powerful, sir. I think what I heard, my big takeaway from that is it improves your retention. Everybody's so fixated here on how to get 10 more students, how to get 10 more students. To me, the better question is, how do I keep the 10 I have?
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so something as great as skills, as you say, that
It's a lot easier
really,
to keep the ones you've got, the good ones, and to worry about keep getting more at the time. So,
Yeah.
I don't know if you've got anything to add, Jack.
I think looking at the skills program, it's for ourselves part of the podcast. We've put together a consultancy business allowing us to digitize and process schools, and we see the skills platform as a key capability within that as part of our syllabus enhancement. So allowing instructors to develop and understand a little bit more about the psychology behind teaching children. Because ultimately, the martial arts syllabus is designed for adults. Right? And the key area within the UK and in Ireland, and the main drive within martial arts is around children. So giving the instructors and organisations a toolkit to be able to support them to us is invaluable.
yes, I'm huge on that. I have a great client out there, Liam Richards, who owns Excel Martial Arts in the UK. And we actually just finished recording. He actually has his own theme song. I mean, talk about taking a school to another level.
Yeah.
He has a theme song that we recorded and cultivated together. Yeah. So it's powerful.
John Cena, no?
Yes.
Not John Cena.
The wrestling guy.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Well,
All right. So,
well, hey, Miss Mel.
Huh?
Did we cover both of them? Anything else there?
No, that's
All
it.
right.
That's about all the time I have left because we've got to get my son here from school soon.
Yay.
And
Yeah.
he's got soccer tonight. He's starting league soccer tonight, so he'll be playing.
Oh, that's awesome.
On a team. So that'll be exciting. I got his little shin guards and soccer cleats over there.
Yep.
So,
Yep. Oh, don't get crazy like me. I actually yelled at a ref during soccer. It was so bad. I became one of those for a moment.
yeah.
For a moment. I'm passionate. Hey,
Well,
Mel,
thank you for hosting me.
I love you. You know that. And
Yeah,
and,
we did.
and I look forward to seeing you in Mallorca. We'll
Mexico?
celebrate your birthday.
Are you
Huh?
going to Mexico?
Yeah, I'll be at Cos. Are you going to be at Cos?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Then I'll
Sponsor
see you
me.
at Cos now. So we'll have K1 post all of Mel's different websites, how you can get connected with skills, all that good stuff. Take this and run. It's really your life, your space, your race, and the potential to do what you want to do is there, and the resources are there. So I want to thank Melody Johnson. Thank you for the friends from the UK. Michael, thank you so much for being there, sir. And thank you, Mel. Until we talk again, I'm going to finish up the show and give away something. But again, thank you so much, Mel.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. So there you go, guys. As you see, I always have so much to say, but with Mel, I love learning. And I've heard her say a lot of those things, and each time she says them, they just register on a deeper level. If you're like me, a lot of people are, I got to hear it 5-6 times, or I don't get it the first time. It's like that when I work with people in rotating curriculum. They don't get it the first year. They don't get it the second year. But when they get that rotating curriculum, it makes a lot of sense. It's the same thing here. We're talking about how to teach children, and that has nothing to do with martial arts per se. It's really getting that type of education you need to teach kids. Cool. So K1, we got 2 minutes left. What are we giving away today? We are giving away 1 month to my group mentoring program. We just started it. It's ongoing. You can join at any time. We're going to keep cycling through these 12 topics. Right now, we're on how to create a success mindset. I am huge on the mindset. That's a big thing in my life. Cultivating the proper mindset that frees me from my insecurities, my fears, that offers me the best opportunity to create a life that I find of value for me, and that fulfills my purpose. And my purpose is live your best life. That's what I do 24/7, 365 for myself, my family, my team, my clients, my community. Everything I do through my example and the learning that I share with people, a lot of it's 58 years of life experience. A lot of it's from journaling. A lot of it's from trial and error. A lot of it's from reading other people's book and embracing what fits my core value system. But nonetheless, I still live from the heart to help people live their best life. So if you choose to join us in Mallorca, Spain for It's Time Live Europe with me, Roland Osborne, and of course, none other than Melody Johnson. Cool, cool, cool. And the hotel booking, we got to book by January 24th to get all the food and the discounts and all that good stuff. So anyone that's on here that is going to go to Mallorca, Spain, book your hotel by January 24th. There's a form that goes with that. Just ask K1 because they have very specific guidelines. So we get all the food and the amenities that come with it. And try to stay for the 4 days. I promise it'll change your life. And what a better place to facilitate this than in Mallorca, Spain. Cool, cool, cool. All right, K1, let's do this, man. So we're giving away 1 month of my group mentoring program. It's something that we've started new. It's so affordable for the average school owner because I want to, I don't want people to miss out on what I have to teach simply because they can't afford it. I think that's just not acceptable anymore. So I'm trying to cultivate something at a new level, and you get to be a part of that. Cool, cool, cool. So you shared this, everyone. K1, are we ready, sir? Give me a little drum roll. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of today's It's Time group mentoring program is Timothy J. That's a new name, Timothy J. Everybody that's there, disruptors, give him some love. Give him some love. Give him some love. Congratulations, Timothy J. And disruptors, get in there and say congratulations, because we celebrate everybody's success if we were truly to embrace and celebrate our own. Cool, cool, cool. Hey, I want to thank all our sponsors for today's show. My Studio, the app, Market Muscles, the best in websites, LC Accounting for your bookkeeping needs, and of course, Kids Love Life Skills. I consider the finest in character development. So for everything else, go to brannonbeliso.com, get signed up for It's Time Live Europe, and also think about It's Time Live Elevate. Some of you I'll see in Cozumel. Some of you I'll see at MegaCon. That's coming up in May. So I'm in a lot of places this year. I just booked Matt's martial arts training seminar in Texas, where I'm doing the keynote for Zofi Ahmed. So that's coming up in October. Cool, cool, cool. Hey, I'm Brannon Beliso. This has been Success Never Sleeps. Until we talk again, please, you go out there, live your best life.